Now, as we celebrate the phenomenal spirit of South African women today, we have the pleasure of hosting Puno Selesho. Born in Pretoria, Puno is a poet, and she says that she exists to inspire, bring hope, as well as equip fellow South African females to be better. Puno joins us now in studio. Thank you so much for joining us, and warm welcome to the agenda.
Thank you for having me.
She is a great poem, ma'am. It is so riveting. It is so touching.
Sure, thank you so much. Thank you.
So, what does Women's Day mean to you?
Oh, Women's Day is probably my favorite day of the whole year.
Yeah.
It's the day where we can all come out as females and just like enjoy who we are, be big, be bold, be proud, and speak about the things that mean a lot to us. Yeah.
So how did your poetry journey begin?
Sure, I started my poetry journey like in 2010 when I was in grade 10 in school. And I wrote my first poem and just decided to do it for like a school, it was for a school festival. And from then on, people started noticing, I started writing more, and I just carried on the journey from there. So it's been amazing. Yeah.
Now this poem, Words That Grow, tell us the inspiration behind that.
Sure, Words That Grow has everything to do with being relentless and being optimistic and using words in a hopeful manner. So using words that don't necessarily cut or break down or bring negativity, but rather that inspire people and encourage people. Because I think in the country that we live in and the times that we live in and the things that women face, we need words that are more motivational and inspirational and things that breathe hope. And it was so cool coming alongside Three Ships Whiskey, who have those same values and that same positive message to be like, hey, let's actually come together and be counterculture in the way that we do things and breathe hope and positivity back into our nation, really.
Yeah, speaking of that, how does that Three Ships Whiskey campaign resonate with you?
Sure. So they had their own very difficult journey, because with them planting their distillery here and wanting to grow the things in order to make the whiskey, we're told it's not going to work. The ground is too hard. They were told the weather's not going to allow for this thing to work. But now they're like the biggest commercial distillery in Africa. And for me, that is just amazing, because as a black female in South Africa, you're not expected necessarily to excel. The odds are against you as well.
Sure.
So I think my story runs parallel with that, to say keep going, be authentic, stick to your guns, do what you know, hone your craft, and you will be successful. So yeah.
When you write your poems, is it a personal reflection of your life, or is it maybe a reflection of what's happening around you?
So it's kind of a bit of both, because the personal is the political. So my personal story, definitely you'll see it run through as a theme throughout all my poetry, but it does reflect society in general. So I do hope, for instance, that when people hear my words and my stories, that another black female says, I can actually resonate with that. I actually understand that. That people who are not black females would be like, oh, I'm actually learning your story. So therefore I'm learning to relate to other people in my world, in my groups, in my society, etc. So it's linked, but without it being a personal story, it wouldn't be real. So yeah, it's both.
25 years into democracy, what's your reflection of the current status quo in South Africa when it comes to women emancipation, women development, and women empowerment? Do you think that the 25 years have failed women, and if so, how so?
So I think I'm a bit of a realist, so I want to take a balanced view on that. I think we've come a long way, definitely in our rhetoric, in our conversations, in how we frame women's issues and making it a priority. However, there are still a lot of women who have been failed by the systems and by the powers that be, by even society at large. There's still a lot of work to be done, but I will recognize that women's issues have been tabled, and they've been tabled well. But I think now, in terms of implementation and action and protecting women, whether it's from gender-based violence or in terms of just the conflicts that happen in a corporate space, for instance, those are still the things that we have to dive deeper into and get right again.
And I guess that is the problem, because as South Africans, we keep on saying that so much needs to be done, but we don't actually diagnose the issue. What needs to be done by whom? Do you have any timelines? And if so, what would be the consequences of not doing whatever we are supposed to do?
Absolutely. And I think it's difficult to tie it down to time, right? Because the injustices that women have been through, that was almost limitless, and they still perpetuated. So the undoing is probably going to take longer. It's probably going to be harder, but that's why we have to be as relentless and as forceful to do it. Yeah. And if we don't, because we know, we've heard the quotes of a healthy society is one where women thrive in. So if women are not thriving, we won't have a healthy society.
Indeed,
we'll have a society that's bleeding and that's hurt. And that's exactly what we have right now. So we have to heal, and all parties have to come to the table to have this conversation, both women and men. Yeah.
And I guess the first step of diagnosing a problem is to acknowledge that there is actually a problem. I mean, I'm still yet to see a female president in this country. I'm still yet to see a bigger number of women at leadership positions. I'm still yet to see, a favorable pay parities between men and women in the corporate place.
100%. And you'll be surprised. I would like to think that I carry myself with a decent amount of confidence in the spaces that I operate in. And people are shocked by that. People almost are taken aback because it's unusual to see females, especially people of color, being confident and being proud of their spaces and being ambitious and going for what they want to go for. And that needs to become the norm. I need to have a daughter, I need to have a niece, I need to have other girls look up to me and be like, it's normal to be in a leadership position. It's normal to be confident in your craft and what you do as a woman. And unfortunately that isn't normalized yet, but we're going to get there.
How do we fight patriarchy in South Africa?
Sure.
I know, right?
I think fighting patriarchy, number one, starts with calling it out. And I cannot be the only person as a female calling it out. Men have to also call out patriarchy and have to call out the distorted relationships and the jokes and the power dynamics and all of those things. We all have to be doing that. And once that's done, we then need to be like, cool, what is masculinity? What is femininity? How can these things be healthy in relationship to one another and individually, and understand that it's not a either or thing, it's both of us, and it's a beautiful thing. But yeah, it first starts with being like, that's not fine. And it's in the small moments, and it's with your friends, it's with your father, it's with your brother, it's with your colleague, with your boss. It doesn't have to be on these big grand platforms.
True. You know, Puno, I'm so captivated by this conversation that I'm going to ask you to remain seated. And because now we look at the crowd